forecast to slowly push closer to Louisiana over the next 48 hours. We'll discuss this and more of today's top headlines. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm guest host, Houston Public Media reporter Michael Adkison. Craig Evans from the Houston Humane Society joins us to explain why more animals are ending up in shelters and what Houstonians could do to help save them.
Plus, what if the most powerful thing you could do right now is rest? Kevin Anderson of The Truth Project explains why rest has become a movement, not just a wellness practice.
And as always, we want to hear from you. So give us a call or text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, by Metro, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The Defense Department is identifying another soldier killed in connection with the U.S.-led war in Iran. Sergeant Michael Emmanuel Swinton of Fayetteville, North Carolina, died during a controlled detonation of a drone in northern Iraq July 19th. He was 30 years old. In all, at least 17 U.S. service members have died since the war began late February. Lawmakers will have questions for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth when he testifies before the Senate Appropriations Committee today. NPR's Quill Lawrence reports the White House is asking Congress for a nearly $90 billion funding boost, most of it for the war.
U.S. forces have bombed Iranian military and infrastructure targets for 10 days running and have reinstated a naval blockade on Iran's ports and coastline. Iranian media report scores of casualties. Iran has attacked U.S. bases around the region with missiles and drones, killing at least 3 U.S. service members since Friday. This week, the Department of Defense divulged that at least 100 U.S. troops have been injured in the last 2 weeks, most of whom returned to service. The Pentagon hasn't briefed the press since May, and the hearing today will be the first chance for senators from both parties to ask Hegseth publicly about the depletion of U.S. military munitions, safety of troops in the region, and how the U.S. plans to resolve the war. Quill Lawrence, NPR News.
Against the backdrop of a war that also involved fighting between Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah militants in Lebanon, the president of Lebanon, Joseph Aoun, is the first head of state from his country to visit the White House since 2009. In this exchange with reporters, President Trump was asked when Israeli forces will leave Lebanon.
They're in the process of redeploying into other sections. And again, they get along very well. That was a great agreement they signed with Lebanon, and they're redeploying.
But Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen say they plan to blockade the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, a critical route for Saudi Arabia's oil exports on the Red Sea. A federal appeals court is clearing the way for the release of recorded interviews of former President Joe Biden. NPR's Carrie Johnson reports the Conservative Heritage Foundation had sued for access to the recordings.
The years-old audio recordings contain interviews of Joe Biden by the man who helped ghostwrite his memoir. A prosecutor who investigated Biden's alleged mishandling of classified information later obtained the recordings. That prosecutor, Rob Hur, declined to charge Biden with wrongdoing, saying his age and faulty memory would be obstacles in any criminal case. The Heritage Foundation has been pushing for access to the tapes, and a federal appeals court has found there's a substantial public interest in the recordings. The appeals court in D.C. gave the former president until early August to pursue any additional legal steps. Biden had argued to release the tapes would violate his privacy. Carrie Johnson, NPR News, Washington.
It's NPR.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Shelby Rose. A man suspected of killing his pregnant wife in Houston will remain in Italy after a court temporarily paused his extradition back to the U.S. The Italian courts have concerns about the death penalty being used in the case of Lee Gilly, who fled the country with false ID back in May to avoid trial. Italy's legal system does not allow for the death penalty or life without parole, so authorities over there want assurances that Gilly would receive a sentence less than either of those punishments before sending him back. The Harris County DA's office wouldn't comment on account of a gag order in the case. Plus, Tropical Storm Bertha has formed in the Gulf. National Weather Service meteorologist Justin Gonzalez says it was upgraded from a tropical depression last night, but might be downgraded before reaching the Texas coast.
According to the latest guidance from the National Hurricane Center, we're likely looking at possibly a depression by the time it makes it to southeast Texas.
And the forecast calls for the storm to reach the Texas coast Friday evening. And Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez is asking for Commissioner's Court to boost his office's budget in 2027. News 88.7's Sarah Grinnell says the recommendations come during a lengthy budget hearings just last week.
Gonzalez is asking the court to fund several initiatives in the sheriff's office's proposed budget, like expanding crisis intervention for mental health responses and more jail staffing positions to reduce outsourcing.
We are reducing the number of inmates outsourced to other facilities. As recently as last week, we returned 100 defendants to Harris County from outside private facilities.
A major point of contention in the county's budget discussions last year was a pay parity initiative to get deputy pay in line with Houston Police Department officers. Gonzalez said that investment has stabilized the sheriff's office's workforce. Commissioners vote on the budget in September. I'm Sarah Grunow, News 88.7.
And we're looking at a potentially record-breaking weather day. High is projected at 101, surpassing the 100-degree record set back in 2022. It's currently 88 degrees here on the University of Houston campus. I'm Shelby Rose, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance, with Snapshot, a program that monitors how and how much a person drives. Snapshot offers personalized rates based on their driving habits at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston.
Hello there, Ernie Manous with you on this wonderful Tuesday. Now, you might get confused and think it's Monday because sitting with me is HPM's Michael Adkison, who is sitting. It's usually Mondays with Michael. Today, I got a Tuesday with you, too.
You do. I really like the idea of someone who knows what day of the week it is based off of who the guest host on Hello Houston.
Absolutely. Check our YouTubers. You know, folks over there on YouTube who chat with us and watch the show every day.
Monday.
Do any of you know that Michael sits in on Mondays and you think to yourself, if you hear him on the show, it must be Monday? Or the fact that suddenly he had to go to work after a weekend may point to the fact it's Monday before that. Speaking of going to work, we have some work to do here.
We do. It's good work. It's a good, I was going to say it's a good Monday. It's a good Tuesday because we're in the middle of our resiliency campaign and fundraising for Houston Public Media.
So important that when you hear this call to action that you take it. We were talking yesterday, we mentioned our YouTubers, and somebody in our development department said, you know, you talk with them about they should jump in and they should contribute when you ask them to. So I'm asking you, YouTubers, show them what you're made of. Show them that you support the station. It's easy to do. And I know you're online because you're watching us.
We could drop some names if we wanted to.
We could. We won't do that. But you can go to houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or just give us a call, 888-909-0887. You can also text HPMRF, Houston Public Media Resiliency Fund, HPMRF, to 888-909-0887. 887. And the reason we are doing this, the reason we are in our resiliency fund drive is because what happened, as we all know, federal government cut some budgets. We were cut out. That meant $2.2 million less per year for Houston Public Media. Now, that's only 10% of our operating budget. So the vast majority comes from you, our folks, our listeners, our supporters. But we need to make up the deficit. We've been really good. We're about 88% of the way there, I think, was the number we were giving yesterday.
We still need about $500,000, I believe, is the number that we need right now to match that goal.
So we need you to do something very important. What do we need them to do, Michael?
We need them to donate. As Ernie mentioned, the number is 888-909-0887. Go to houstonpublicmedia.org/donate. And some good news is it's a Hello Houston special. If you donate in the next 51 minutes, it will be triple matched. So that's a great opportunity. This is the best time of year, really, to donate is during a triple match hour. So any match that you make is going to be tripled. Any donation you make is going to be tripled. $10 becomes $30, $30 becomes $90, and so on and so on. So if you're one of those people who's been like, I keep meaning to donate to Houston Public Media, but I'm also scrolling through Twitter or TikTok or what have you, don't do that right now. Donate. HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate. Make that donation and get it matched triply because it is worth the investment. You like programs like Hello Houston, those donations are what help us stay on the air and keep giving you information in your community like we are about to do for the next couple of hours. So go online, HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate, or call or text 888-909-0887, Ernie.
Well, thank you for that, and I hope you take heed. That's what we needed to tell you to start off. The other thing is we keep teasing this. We did this yesterday, and we didn't get to it. I'm dying to talk about the World Cup halftime show. And again, we don't have time yet to do that.
I know. We've got some important things at hand.
But we'll
Ernie
get
and
to it.
Ernie and I
We're
have some
committed.
takes.
Yeah, we also want to hear yours if you actually watch it. I know. I feel bad because we should have talked about it yesterday because it happened on Sunday, and now it's Tuesday. Are people still talking about it? We are. So I just want you to know that. Something else that we are talking about on today's show, we're going to be taking a look at a couple pretty serious subjects. We're going to be talking about the stray animal problem that we have in the city and what each one of us can do to help with that. We're also going to talk about human trafficking. We just came off of the World Cup. We are quite a hub for human trafficking because of our location and the way things are set up for us. We'll talk a bit about that. Plus, Password. It's back on TV in a primetime celebrity Password version of it. A guy from Houston who has his roots right here in town is going to be on tonight on Password, but he's going to be on this afternoon with us.
Yeah, and I think you have some fun surprises in store for him.
Don't give anything
I'm
away.
just saying, stick around. Fun surprise.
Don't want to ruin that. Anyway, as always, we like to start off with the news of the day. So, Michael, take us into the news.
Well, you've probably heard Tropical Storm Bertha has formed in the Eastern Gulf Monday evening, and it is forecast to slowly push closer to Louisiana over the next 48 hours. Eventually, the system could bring us some scattered tropical downpours late in the week, but at this time, we don't expect anything significant. While the Eastern Gulf is active, the Western Gulf is quiet for now. A heat dome in the upper atmosphere will bring us our hottest week so far this summer, and a heat advisory is in effect for all of Southeast Texas on Tuesday. That is issued when the heat index is expected to top 108 degrees. And joining us now is Houston Chronicle's meteorologist Justin Ballard to explain, I think, what Houstonians need to know as we approach this severe weather system and how much do we need to panic, how much do we not need to panic. So, Justin, thank you for joining Hello Houston today.
Thank you for having me. It's never great to panic, but this is certainly not one of those times where we need to be super overly concerned, if you will.
Okay, let me start you with this one. So I wake up yesterday morning and the whole world is on fire about this storm that's coming. By midday here at the office, they're all like, yeah, it's not going to amount to anything. And then all of a sudden you're on our show today, which makes me think, well, maybe something's going on there. Walk me through what's been going on over the last 24 hours about this storm.
Yeah, it's funny. Sunday night, I saw someone on, I believe it was Threads, post that a Cat 2 or 3 was heading our way. And I had to put a kibosh to that. And I was like, no, that's absolutely not going to happen. I also managed to get quite a few followers from that. So let's talk about what's going on with Bertha right now. It's located as of the 10 o'clock advisory, just hour and some change ago, 70 miles southwest of Panama City, Florida. It's moving, but it's moving very, very slowly, only moving towards the north-northwest at about 3 miles per hour. Maximum sustained wind, 60 miles per hour. So it's got about 15 miles per hour more wind to get to that kind of hurricane threshold. Now, will that happen? Probably not. I mean, could it? I mean, yeah, sure, but it's not going to sustain that for very long. Certainly not by the time it reaches us here in Southeast Texas. A much weaker version of Bertha is likely heading our way.
Okay, now this is your stock and trade, far from mine. But traveling over warm water at this time of the year, doesn't that intensify these kinds of storms? And if it's moving slow, in some ways, isn't that worse because it can gather more moisture? Am I right on any of this?
So yes, ordinarily, but there's also other things going on that's really kind of battling this out. So yes, temperatures, water temperatures are very, very warm. They're running above average in most of the Gulf. However, we've got a lot of wind shear over the northern Gulf, especially where this storm is located. So wind shear, if you think about our atmosphere from where we are at the ground all the way to the very tip top, there are a lot of wind direction changes and wind speed changes happening, and that is really a prime enemy, if you will, for hurricanes, for tropical storms. So if you look at radar and if you look at satellite, you can actually see that. You can see the center of circulation. It's just a tight little swirl, and then you see all the thunderstorm activity to the south of that, because all of that storminess is being pushed off to the south because of those pretty strong northerly winds.
All right, so I'm going to relax about this storm, but
Yes.
even if it goes up New Orleans-y route, do we get then we're on the dirty side of the storm? Would that give us more moisture, even if we don't have a hurricane or any of that, or a tropical storm even? Do we run the risk of flooding and too much water in our area?
I mean, there certainly is the risk for, especially as we get into, I would say, Friday and Saturday, as what's left of Bertha makes its way towards southeast Texas. I definitely think there is a risk for some very localized flooding, street flooding, but I wouldn't say there's anything more in terms of risk level than what we've seen over the last couple of weeks with the thunderstorms that we've seen. In fact, I would say last week we had more of a flood risk than what we've got coming up Friday into Saturday as Bertha's remnants make its way towards southeast Texas. So I'm not overly concerned about that. Again, we've still got that heat dome over us, so that's giving us those wonderful 100-degree days. I'm saying that with as much sarcasm as possible. But it's also going to really kind of eat up a lot of the tropical moisture that does get here. So I think if neighborhoods see a half inch to an inch and a half between, say, late Thursday when our first showers could get here into southeast Texas, and then Saturday when the last of the rain moves out, I would be actually pleasantly surprised.
So going off of that, we started this by talking about not panicking for people at home. So, with this coming this weekend, how concerned should I as a Houstonian be? Do I have my go bag packed? Am I stocking up on groceries to make sure, if I don't have electricity, I'll be good? Where should my concerns fall in all of this?
This is not, have the go bag packed. This is not, clear out the freezer week, unless you want to. I mean, go for it. It never hurts this time of the year. But this is, if anything, I'm looking at this as almost more of like a muscle memory sort of test. It's been a little while since we've had a hurricane. The last B-named hurricane that we had in Houston was Beryl in 2024. So I'm thinking of this as more of a muscle memory, right? So if you're going to have a tropical storm make landfall in our area, at least, let it be something like this that kind of tests your preparedness early on, as opposed to a full-fledged hurricane or something like that, when you're panicked because you don't have the go bag ready. You've got to buy, your canned beans and meat and all the other things that, nobody really truly wants to eat. But it's, I'm kind of looking at it that way.
Well, I'm looking at saying thank you for always keeping us informed in what the weather is doing and keeping us up to date, and to bring down the pressure, not in the atmosphere, but in people's minds and worry. Justin, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. Stay cool, y'all.
Thank you. Justin Ballard is the Houston Chronicle's newsroom meteorologist and a good friend of our show, always there to help us really understand what's going on out there.
I know, and I think it's so helpful to know when to panic and when not to panic. Not that it's ever good to panic, but I've covered as a journalist many of those HEB runs right before a storm hits as everyone's freaking out.
Well, I like the idea about cleaning out the freezer. I've got one of those big freezers in my garage. The top comes up and it's like, I don't know how big, but it's a good size one. And I was thinking to myself, you know what? I should just empty everything out of it and start from scratch. I have no idea what's in my freezer anymore.
Right, yeah.
And this is a good time of year to do it.
There you go.
Okay, I know we usually have more headlines, but I'm going to do it now because we want to talk about it. And you folks out there, join us on this one. Did you watch the FIFA halftime show? Did you watch the World Cup? Also, what did you think of the game itself?
That too.
Also, there's a lot of media out there of our dear leader, the President of the United States, deciding he now plays on the Spanish team and getting into a photo there that he wasn't supposed to be in. But what really captured my attention, if you want to call and join our conversation, 713-440-8870, it was the halftime show. And I want to tell you, I was very worried I would come across as a hater because I started watching it and I thought, did Madonna just send a video? is she even there? And she came out, sang a word, and was gone. After all this, I've heard about her demands and all this stuff about her. And I was like, oh, please. Then all of a sudden the Muppets are there. I'm not sure why the Muppets are there.
I take issue with that. The Muppets, they're iconic.
And I thought, oh, I love the Muppets.
Miss Piggy looked great.
But my thing is, so I'm thinking to myself, I don't really like this show. And I thought, I'm not going to say anything because I'm going to be seen as a hater. Then I started reading the comments. I am not alone.
No. Yeah. I think for me watching it, so just some context, I'm sure you know this, Ernie, but just some context. So they've never done this before. This was the first halftime show. So it was curated by Chris Martin in Global Citizen, Chris Martin of Coldplay. And I think as you watched it, you're like, yes, Chris Martin did curate this. This has all the remnants of Chris Martin and Coldplay. I felt like particularly the ending, which was very cute. Don't get me wrong, the kids singing was cute. But normally a halftime show is like you end on a high note, a bang, like star power, and it was just kids singing. Like they didn't lean on Shakira. Madonna was nowhere to be found.
Was she still there?
I don't know. I kind of love the idea if she just left.
She got back in that little
She's
dune
68
buggy
years
and
old. She
drove
can do
away.
whatever she wants.
Well, I also was concerned. We're used to like Olympic opening ceremonies or Super Bowl halftime shows,
right,
where the coordination is there. And I felt like I loved seeing the kids. I was happy for the kids. I didn't feel like they were heavily coordinated.
Mm-mm.
I didn't feel like even all of them knew what they were singing.
Yeah.
I just thought.
Yeah. I also, something that I loved about this is, talking about that this was the first, loved in a smirky, like, oh, ha, ha, ha way, is that we talked about they've never done this before. It's part of this big push that FIFA had to sort of make the World Cup interesting to Americans that are used to halftime shows, the Super Bowl halftime show, obviously. And I kind of think it's really funny that one of the other big criticisms that Americans have of soccer is that there's not enough excitement, there's not enough scores and that sort of thing. So we did this big halftime show, rah, rah, we're excited. We have all these celebrities. Look, it's so fun. And the score was 0-0 until the 105th minute. It's like, okay, you could take a horse to the well, but you can't make it drink.
Well, and the other thing too, it was a challenge from a couple challenges. One is that there is a set time that break is at the middle of the game, and so they had to fit the show in there. They set it up and get it out and keep within their rules. And also, you're actually playing to an international audience. As much as we say the Super Bowl plays to an international audience, we are the audience for it. So to play to an international audience, you've got to have artists that resonate around the world.
Yeah.
And I have to say, in positive of it, Shakira, there must be a painting of that woman aging somewhere.
She's incredible.
She's almost, she's 48 or something?
Yeah.
Almost 50? No way would you have predicted that.
The first lady of soccer. Yes, absolutely.
She looked great.
I think what's funny is I'm a huge Shakira fan. I'm a big Madonna fan. Like, I think we're talking about them. I think it's funny that we're not even talking about Justin Bieber. I think it's because we think Madonna and Shakira know better. We're like, they can do better than this. And Justin Bieber, we're like, that's about par for the course, perhaps.
As we wrap this little chit-chat up, my British computer guy says, the game was great, was gunning for Spain to win. Argentina had their time in the spotlight. It was fun, even though my team didn't make it to the final. And I think a lot of us feel the same way.
Not me. I was pulling for Argentina. Sorry.
I wanted Argentina because I thought
my mom said it. I'm half Argentine, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, you continue to think about that. We've got to take a quick break because we got some important business. But when we come back, we're going to take a look at a sad situation of stray animals in our city. This is Hello, Houston.
Meet Tio Choco. We just took his keys for the day and gave him a Ride Metro fare card. This is his story. Visit ridemetro.org/Choco to find out where is Choco.
And that even their brains change when they enter into fatherhood.
What happens with the dad brain? That's next time on Think.
You can hear Think. It's on tonight at 11 o'clock.
I'm Indira Lakshmanan. In Nathaniel Rich's new novel, Cloud Thief, a woman living off the grid and a climate journalist team up for a new kind of heist, robbing a data center.
The most valuable thing in the world is no longer money, or jewels or artwork. It's data. And all of this data lives in these Fort Knoxes called data centers.
Next time on Here and Now.
coming up today at 1 o'clock on News 88.7.
Support comes from Theater Under the Stars with the 2026-27 season of Broadway shows, including The Who's Tommy, Kinky Boots, and Oh Mary. Details about subscription packages are available at tuts.org. Support comes from Centerpoint Energy, who has installed 69,000 storm-resilient poles and trimmed vegetation from more than 11,500 miles of power lines, all part of their plan to build a more resilient coastal grid for the hurricane season.
Cuts to funding won't silence this station, but they do make your support more vital than ever.
Houston Public Media brings you facts, local, national, and global, free to everyone. But it's your support that makes it possible.
In a changing media landscape, you are the reason we are on the air. Keep it local. Keep it free.
Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Ernie Manous and guest host Michael Adkison.
With growing economic pressures, the city's rapid population growth, and the increase in the cost of care for pets, having a pet is becoming a lot more challenging. Now, here's something disappointing. In 2025, 22,445 animals were taken in by Bark Shelter. More than 4,000 healthy, adoptable pets had to be euthanized. So how can Houstonians help lower those rates and save these healthy animals? Joining us to lift the conversation up is Greg Evans, Senior Director of Operations at the Houston Humane Society. Greg, those are sad, sad numbers.
It's always sad whenever animal passes.
Yeah, but even just the fact that you had to take in so many animals too, you know, and what's happening out there in our city.
Correct. The pet overpopulation is a huge issue within Houston. Every shelter is always operating over standard capacity. We get creative with making space.
Yeah. So the lead in this is, what can Houstonians do to help lower those rates? What can we or should we all be doing?
Well, one thing is spaying and neutering your pets. Altering your pets prevents them from reproducing and creating more pets that are out there stray. We have a brand new veterinary clinic that we opened up earlier this year. We have quite the capacity to perform spays and neuters. It's affordable, right? So rising vet care costs, it's getting expensive.
We often look at the fact that a lot of people will adopt an animal, or they'll find a stray, they bring it home, they hopefully get it spayed or neutered, they visit a vet, get it all healthy and all that, not realizing down the road the cost of that maybe free animal you found is going to cost. And it gets more expensive. I know from a lot of facts is as they get older, you know, there's care they need and all that. People need to think about that up front, I'm assuming.
Oh, absolutely. There's always a cost of caring for anything.
True that.
Right. So that's, once again, that's where our clinic comes in. We are trying to keep it as affordable as possible to get the care that's needed for these pets to maintain their health.
Now, do you just do spay or neutering, or do you do full veterinary care?
We do full veterinary care, vaccines, wellness exams, anything that is ailing your pet. We're open to the public to take in and take a look at.
Okay, what kind of wait time is it, though? Is it hard to get in?
No. So vaccines are walk-in. Right, so you just show up at our clinic and walk in. We'll go ahead and do the vaccine right then and there.
Oh, really?
There is a little bit of a delay for exams. That's by appointment only, just like spays and neuters.
Okay.
But with the new clinic, we went from a 3,000 square foot facility to a 10,000 square foot facility. So the ability to house, take in these pets to get them done in the same day is greatly increased.
So number one, pay attention to health care for your animals. Get them spayed, neutered, keep them healthy, take care of them. Go someplace like your clinic where you can find reasonable cost for care, so that way it lessens the burden on you. Quickly, how do people find where a clinic is, all this stuff?
Go to our website, houstonhumane.org. The address is 3100 West Fuquay. It's actually not too far away from our shelter at 14700 Alameda Road. pretty easy to find.
Pretty good to know that. Food and what you feed your pets.
Mm-hmm.
How important is that? A lot of people are down on kibble, are saying, but I tend to think it was formulated for your animals. It should be good. What is your goal, and what is your what are the rules you have for what you should be feeding your pet?
Just pet food, right? So we actually use cuddly food within our shelter. We have a partnership with them. Our pets do great on that food.
Okay.
For general public, just if they're maybe having some trouble, getting food for their pets, we do have a pet resources department. And if you go to our website, HoustonHumane.org, we actually have pet pantries that are at various locations all over the greater Houston area. And all it takes is for them to show up. There is a line, right? It's first come, first serve.
Yeah.
But they can go through that line and get the food needed to feed their pets.
When we talk about these folks who bring pets to the animal shelter, people who had pets and said, I can't have this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
What is that conversation like? What do you find the reasons are that they don't want to have these pets anymore? And what is that? How does that conversation go? Of what's going to happen if you give your pet here? Does that make sense?
Well, so it varies, right?
Yeah.
Everybody faces their own challenge, and what we do is we are an appointment based intake. So we only take in so many animals per week. If we don't have availability that week, they have to wait, right? So sometimes there may be a little bit of a delay for getting the animal into the Houston Humane Society.
Gotcha.
That conversation, however, is once the animal is placed into the program, they get go through, get up to date on vaccines if they're not up to date on them. They get altered, spayed or neutered if they're not spayed or neutered, and then they get placed up for adoption. There is no euthanasia for space at Houston Humane Society. One of the things that we do and we're proud of is our live release rate is very high. One of the programs that really helps with that is our foster program, right? So we only have a finite amount of space within the shelter, but we have a lot of great foster families that will sign up and take an animal into their home and provide care for that animal. And it still stays on the website and listed as available and is available for adoption. It's just off-site.
Yeah.
And so that helps us with maintaining the capacity and the demand.
I got to ask, how many of those fosters end up staying in those homes they go to? I would think it's pretty hard when you bring in one of these little animals and you're with them for a while. You're like, no, I can't give it up.
We call those foster fails, and that's acceptable too.
Foster fails. The bigger issue that we face is, as a city, the strays that are out of control in the city itself. What kind of programs do the city have going on? How do they work with you folks about how we make sure that our city doesn't get overrun by strays?
So all of our partners, we all work well together. There's plenty of different programs, not just intake, where other shelters will work with us, and we tackle the problem together. Right?
Yeah.
The problem is too big for one shelter to tackle alone,
yeah.
And so we coordinate, help out where we can, and go from there.
Does a program do catch and release where they find these animals, spay, neuter them, put them back out on the street, or doesn't that happen?
So we do have, even going back to our general public clinic, we do have a trap and release special for cats. So if you have a feral cat colony in the area and you want to try and keep that cat colony from growing exponentially, we actually offer a special pricing for general public to bring those cats in, to have them altered. They get ear notched and they get a vaccination as well, and they get put back out in the colony.
We are speaking with Greg Evans, as the Senior Director of Operations for the Houston Humane Society. If you want to join the conversation, give us a call, 713-440-8870. A question comes in from our YouTube chat group. When you adopt a pet out, do you automatically spay or neuter?
Yes, every animal that leaves our shelter is spayed or neutered. It's also up to date on vaccines and microchipped.
I have traveled to Greece, and there are islands in Greece overrun by cats, and it seems to be part of their culture that people come and feed the cats. The cat population grows out there, and it kind of is part of who they are as a population. Where do we fit in that kind of understanding and appreciation and treatment of our ferals and stray animals?
I mean, we have feral cat colonies all over the Houston area. In fact, we actually have one on property at Houston Humane Society.
Really?
Yes, we do. They get fed every morning and every afternoon. Some of them keep their distance, but some of them will come up to you and actually rub up against your leg and let you pet them a little bit.
If you have feral cats in your area, is that good or a bad thing to have? And should you engage with that colony? Should you feed? Should you help? Should you stay away? Should you let nature take its course? What should be?
A lot of variables there. I think it all depends on the size, right? The size of the colony. If it's a small colony and the neighbors are okay with it and they're tolerant of it, there's nothing wrong with having feeding cats and sustaining a cat colony, a feral cat colony of that size.
Yeah.
If it gets way too big where it becomes a nuisance and they're starting to get into places, then call animal control.
We started off with weather today on today's show, and I wondered to myself, when we have those rare, really bad freezes, what should we do if we're in a place where there are feral cats around, where there's a cat colony around? Are you trying to shepherd them into your garage, something? Do you leave them alone? Do you call you folks? What should happen?
So the last few years, we've actually been helping out the community with these. We have a couple partners that come over to our site, and we will build dog houses or cat houses, and we'll make those available to the general public. So if you do have a cat colony and you are concerned about their safety during the freeze, depending on what we have supply-wise, we'll be able to support that. And you just take those out there, give them a place to hunker down and get warm for the night.
We had another comment come in from YouTube. I had a friend in Houston running their own rescue and had 15 70-plus pound dogs in a 1,200 square foot apartment. It's wild how many stray dogs there are in Houston.
That is correct. It's wild that there are so many.
You had talked about earlier solutions. I remember when you talked about expanding the space that you guys could have animals in. I think the wording that you used was we had to be creative about the space that we use. Correct. What are the solutions? Like, is it just something that you have to just live with, essentially, or are there things that we can do to reduce the number of strays, or is it just everybody adopt a dog, and then we're gonna have fewer strays?
Well, it's spay-neuter efforts.
Okay,
right? It's not that's going to be your biggest way to reduce that population. Dealing with the trap and release for cat colonies, that's the way to get it done. When it comes to housing, like I said, we answer the call whenever we can, and there's going to be challenges, and we just have to tackle them and make the right call.
Talking about answering the call when you can, I don't know that this is a question that you want to ask, but are people adopting pets fast enough to I'm thinking supply and demand almost in a weird way. Are people adopting enough?
Well, so our adoption numbers from 2025 to this year are actually increasing.
Wow. Okay.
So we're seeing a significant increase in our adoptions. So I would say that, yes, they're answering the call as well.
That's good. Yeah.
Speaking of answering the call, the number here is 713-440-8870. You're going to want to pop on your headphones right now because Paul from Midtown is on the line. Paul, what's on your mind today?
Oh, no, I just wanted to say thank you for having the guest on the show today. I listen to you guys every day since, March of last year when you guys first had the show on. But here's the deal. I just wanted to say my wife and I, we've caught and taken in cats to the Humane Society over there off Alameda, about 15 to 18 different cats. When we lived in the Med Center, the condos we lived in had a bunch of stray cats. We got to be friendly with them, gave them food, gave them water. And then when we gradually got to know us, we'd catch them, take them in. It's a one-day deal. Drop them off in the morning about 8 o'clock in the morning, pick them up around 4, keep them overnight, and then let them go. And if they like you, they're going to come back. Now that we live in Midtown, we're seeing the same thing, and we're gradually starting to get to know the cats in the area, and they're trusting us, and we're going to start doing this again. But it's a great program. Not only that, but the cats get to be a happy cat after they're fixed, be it male or female, and that they're so friendly and whatnot. But we have to do something that we can't just euthanize them. Yeah. Let them be happy cats. But we thank and Dr. Goni out there at the Humane Society. We know her from her cat clinic over there off of Stelling. But thank you very, very much for coming on the program, and great show.
Paul, thank you very much for calling in and sharing with us. 713-440-8870. Aran is on the phone from the Woodlands. Aran, what's on your mind?
Hey, Ernie. How you doing?
Doing well.
Love your show.
Thank you.
I'm just calling. I'm calling because of the. You didn't seem to have touched on the impact of cats on the wild bird population. It's almost impossible to imagine how many songbirds are killed every year because of feral and even domesticated cats.
Interesting point.
Something like 300 to 200 million to 3 billion has been what the Audubon Society tends to bandy about.
We'll talk to Greg about that. Thank you for calling in and sharing those thoughts with us. I guess part of that problem then goes into if you have a feral cat colony in your neighborhood, how do they impact the environment around us? Is it positive or negative?
There's always going to be a clash between the feral cat colonies and local wildlife. Trying to eliminate that clash is not going to happen. So, it's why you want to maintain a healthy cat colony in size and not let it get so big to where it becomes a huge burden on everything in the local area.
The other night I saw outside my mom's little door to her bedroom, there was an opossum out in the yard there, and a friend of mine said, no, they're great to have. They eat ticks, they eat fleas. They actually help the environment, being that you don't want to get too many of them. You don't want them trying to burrow up into your walls, but you want them there because they're good for your area. I would assume cat colonies, I know we're spending a lot of time on cats today, but I mean, cat colonies probably are good for rodent control and things like that also. Is that
yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's part of the reason we have a recycle center right next to the Houston Humane Society, and they actually do well with maintaining the rodents that may be coming from that location.
Yeah. It's wonderful work you do. Talk to me a little bit about, if this number is correct, more than half of BARC's animal intake now comes from owner turn-ins and over-the-counter surrenders rather than from field pickup. Is that correct?
I would not know that off the top of my head. I know that BARC does a fantastic job with what they do, and they service a lot of community members.
But I guess my point in asking that question also is that how many people are surrendering their animals, and that maybe there is what's the word I'm looking for? Interceding in a certain way to help somebody realize that they can keep an animal as opposed to turning it over. What do you think people should think about in those moments?
So it's a great question, and so we're actually working with BARC. We're actually sending over team members on their open intake days, and our team members are out there to talk to community members as they're in line waiting for drop off, and we're offering alternative placement, so that way we can provide the vaccines, right? Or if it's a spay-neuter or whatever assistance that community member is looking for. And we try and find a way to keep that animal or that pet in the home. And that's something that we just started. It's about 2 weeks old. And so far we're seeing some pretty good positive numbers from just this just a couple weeks.
Wow, it's great work, and your life is so much more enriched when you have a pet to share it with, I believe.
Absolutely.
Greg Evans is the Senior Director of Operations at the Houston Humane Society. Greg, thank you so much for joining Hello Houston today.
Thank you so much for having me on today, guys. You guys have a wonderful day.
You as well. Thank you so much. Coming up, a vibe called Rest Fest returns to Houston. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
We are in our on-air resiliency fund campaign because Houston Public Media lost $2.2 million in annual federal support about a year ago. That funding cut is real for our station, and it's funding that we're not getting back.
No, we don't have federal revenue anymore, but we do have you. You're an important part to this organization.
Yeah, and if you value helping this service stay here for you, Please give today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or just give us a call, 888-909-0887.
And again, right now, your donation will be tripled. This is the extra boost we need. If you have been thinking about donating, now is the time, but you have to actually act now to take advantage of this. So don't wait. This will not last. You have just about 15 more minutes. Give now and get your gift tripled and do 3 times as much to support Greater Houston, News for Greater Houston, and programs like Hello Houston. So get your gift tripled right now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate. Or again, that phone number is 888-909-0887.
When you make that call and you're deciding how much to give and how much to give for support, we hope that you'll be as generous as you possibly can be. Then that's when the triple match pops into effect. You don't have to do anything more. You don't have to give anything more. Give what you're comfortable giving or what you feel you want to share with the station. We'll take care of the rest. It has been a fun drive put together to raise money to encourage people to give, and these supporters have added money to this fund, and we get to tap into it once you make the first move. We can't touch the money without your help, so make that gift triple just by doing what you would have done at any other point. It's more to us. Remember, you listen to the station. You already value what we do here, so take the next step. Make your first gift today. Become a member. Starts with just one gift. And right now, that gift helps fill the gap left behind by the loss in federal funding. We know a gift like that goes a long way toward closing that gap. So join the community, keeping public media strong. HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or call us 888-909-0887.
75 years. That is how long Houston Public Media has been reporting the news in the city. We have kept broadcasting through hurricanes, including the tropical storm that could be coming through later on this week. When people need safety information, we're there. We are covering every election so people can get good information before they vote. And we also give people accurate news in every hard moment the city has faced. We're a nonprofit newsroom, and I think we use that wording a lot, but explaining exactly what that means, it means that we get to decide what we cover. We don't have, corporations that we have to respond to, or we don't chase clicks because we don't have to earn ad revenue. We do the news when it is valuable to our community. So we ask you now, it's your turn to help keep us funded. Make that gift right now, HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate. Call 888-909-0887, or you can also text that number. If you text HPMRF, that stands for Houston Public Media Resiliency Fund, to that number, 888-909-0887. Get it tripled. Thank you.
On the next Fresh Air.
Meet Damola, songwriter, world-class violinist, and award-winning multi-genre artist. We just took his keys for the day and gave him a Ride Metro fare card. Visit ridemetro.org/Damola to learn more about his ride.
Survivor and an unreformed hippie who grew up in Baltimore's innermost inner city. Join us.
It's on tonight at 8 o'clock.
The Iranians were literally able to dig out from some of the bomb sites, the missile launchers, the missiles themselves, some of which they're now launching back at the United States.
I'm Michael Barbaro. That's today on The Daily from the New York Times.
You can hear The Daily. It's coming up tonight at 7 o'clock.
Houston Public Media, in partnership with Texas Southern University, brings to you The Vibe. R&B, hip-hop, and neo-soul. Music that resonates with all ages. The Vibe on 88.7 HD3 and on the Houston Public Media app.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Chariot Energy, offering electricity plans backed by 100% renewable energy for Texas homes and businesses. Learn more about renewable energy options at chariotenergy.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Ernie Manous and guest host Michael Adkison.
The Telling Real Unapologetic Truth Through Healing Project, or that is TRUTH Truth Project, if I can spell correctly, is a Houston-based nonprofit that is dedicated to educating and mobilizing LGBTQ communities of color through social arts and promoting mental health and emotional health. This Saturday, the organization is hosting its third annual A Vibe Called Rest Fest, which will bring together queer and trans communities of color, allies, and artists for a celebration of community wellness and healing in recognition of BIPOC Mental Health Awareness Month. So to tell us more about this event, A Vibe Called Rest, we are joined by Kevin Anderson, the founder and CEO of The Truth Project. Kevin, welcome to Hello Houston.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And great introduction.
I stumbled a couple times, but let's start. Tell me about this organization and this event that you have going on, A Vibe Called Rest. I think people hopefully will pick up on the Vibe Tribe Called Quest reference, but tell us about what's going to happen this weekend.
Yeah, definitely for those who know the reference of a Tribe Called Quest and A Vibe Called Rest. But yeah, so the Truth Project, we were founded in 2013 out of a need for our community, being an organization that centers the wellness and the care for queer communities of color and our allies, utilizing cultural art really as a means for us to step into the expression around our mental health, our emotional health, and our sexual health. Over the years, we've curated many, many experiences, from art exhibitions to film festivals to panel discussions to open mics, all of the things that are led through creativity. A Vibe Called Rest Fest really came from community. You really wanted to have more spaces of understanding, ways and means for us to self-care and what that looks like beyond what we know. So when I first began curating A Vibe Called Rest Fest along with my co-curator, Josie Pickens, one of the things that we wanted to do was really create framework of what we consider a gumbo, a mixture of a whole bunch of wellness tools and opportunities to talk to folk that are doing the work, from licensed professional counselors to psychiatrists to Reiki experiences and sound baths and yoga, all of these things that help us center our nervous system.
Yeah, I think what sticks out to me is this is a time when I think when we talk about what's happening to the LGBTQ community and communities of color, I think people get fired up. They get so angry, they get frustrated, they get sad. And this is a time that you're calling for rest, find peace, find tranquility through all of that. Just explain to me the integrity and importance of that.
Yeah, I appreciate you highlighting and amplifying that. The reality is my lineage is of enslaved folk that did not have an opportunity to rest. They were told when they moved, when they functioned. We are in a time where we are under attack as queer folk and for those that support the community. And because of that, we have to center our own joy. We have to remind ourselves that our care and our wellness is essential for us to be able to be advocates and for us to be able to advocate for, all of community and for our health needs. And so that's the importance. And it's just good to be around folk that, are reminded that this is not only a safe space, but it's a supportive space. And creating those types of spaces now are of the greatest importance for our fight.
I want to jump into one thing that you did say. You made reference to you used the term under attack. For folks outside of this community that don't really understand what you mean by that, explain what the community is feeling today and why they feel that way.
Yeah, I immediately began thinking about being an ally of the trans community. I think about bathroom bills, and I think about so many other things that have, transitioning, and so many things that from a legislative standpoint and from the standpoint of decision making for our state and beyond within the United States, like there has been so many moments that community, in particular trans community, and when we think about LBG, everyone, where decisions are made that hurt, decisions are made that's very pinpointed towards certain individuals, And, I think what becomes most important is just a reminder that we collectively, we've been here before, and that we must amplify spaces like this so that we can recenter our joy.
Yeah. I want to go a little bit forward now into actually the event itself and the experiences people can share and have. Talk to me about what a day looks like at a vibe called Rest Fest.
Well, I began thinking about how we start the day, where we, one of our partners in this celebration is Lululemon. And we've already began part of that celebration last week, having a outfitting at one of the Lululemon stores, pulling in community leaders to say, hey, we appreciate you and we want you to feel seen and cared for at this time. So we started there because we will start the morning around 10:30, where we bring those folks back in their gear, and we have a morning centered around how they self-care during this time, and just, encouraging them. And then we'll lead into the actual festival beginning at 12, where we'll have a couple of panel discussions. Hot off the press, we just confirmed today our keynote speaker, which is Dr. Daniel Black. He is a professor of African American Studies at Clark and Morehouse, and he will be with us to remind us of the voice and a letter of our ancestors about how we must continue to thrive through these times. And that'll be followed by our VIP lounge, where we have actual practices. We'll have the practice of yoga and sound bath and some Reiki and jazz and journaling, all of these things that are practices that people will be able to do on site.
Oh, it sounds like a very wonderful and relaxing
Restful
time, but also one that makes you think and get engaged and be part of a community.
Exactly. Yeah. The space is curated such. Yeah, I love looking at the pictures from last year, because there are pictures of people actually sleeping amid all of the noise that may be happening. Folks are reminded that it's okay to close your eyes right now.
Now, that's my kind of festival. I'm all for a festival where I can go and take a nap. Kevin, thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us today about the event. Kevin Anderson is the founder and CEO of the Houston area nonprofit, The Truth Project. Thank you again for joining us, Kevin, and good luck with the festival.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and hope to see you all.
I hope so, too. The third annual A Vibe called Rest Fest will take place on Saturday, July 25th. For more information, visit truthprojecthtx.org. Coming up, we'll continue with today's top headlines, and we're going to address a serious subject of human trafficking in Houston. Stay with us for the second hour.
We are in our on-air resiliency fund campaign because we need to be ready before you need us, before the next storm, before election night, before the next story you're trying to understand. We want to be there for you.
We're in this campaign because Houston Public Media, as we've mentioned, has lost $2.2 million in annual federal support about a year ago. That wasn't a temporary setback. It was a permanent loss. And those dollars aren't coming back.
We still need about $500,000 to reach our goal. I know that sounds like a lot. In the grand scheme of things, we are so close to reaching our resiliency fund goal. So please help ensure that this station is here well into the future.
And your gift. It helps keep this service ready for the moments when you need us. So give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
And do it right now, because your donation is going to be tripled just for the next couple of minutes. You have so little time to do this. Please do it now. This is the extra boost that we need, but you have to take advantage of this and take advantage of it now. Don't wait. It's only going to last for just a couple more minutes. So give now and get your gift tripled and do 3 times as much to support news for Greater Houston. Get it tripled at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or pick up the phone and call 888-909-0887.
What I always like to say is that these goals that we set up are not just random goals. It's the cost to operate this organization. And having that setback of the cut in federal funding has been difficult. But with your help, we can fix that. And so if you've been listening and you've heard this drive and you said to yourself, yeah, I'll give, do it now. For us, it can be worth 3 times as much. You make the same effort. We get triple the benefit. You get triple the services delivered because of that set amount. So right now, make that gift. Go to HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or just give us a call, 888-909-0887.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
The Houston Public Media Foundation Board proudly stands with our community in supporting the Resiliency Fund. Their leadership and generosity are helping strengthen the future of trusted local journalism. Thank you to our Foundation Board for investing in Houston Public Media.
Local shows plus all your PBS favorites on HPM Plus, free to download on your smart TVs. We have a heat index in effect for today, that advisory, and a high today around 100. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, Democratic Senate candidate James Talarico has pledged to spend $25 million to mobilize black voters on behalf of his campaign for the U.S. Senate this fall. We'll discuss that and more of today's headlines. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm guest host Houston Public Media's Michael Adkison. Human trafficking is hiding in plain sight in Houston, and we all can take steps to help stop it. Human trafficking expert Eileen and Houston City Council member Julian Ramirez join us.
Plus, you think you're quick with words? Houston native Corey Ross has probably got you beat. Tonight, he's facing off alongside Jimmy Fallon on Password. But this afternoon, he's here with us.
And we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, by Metro, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The U.S. plans to impose 50% tariffs on Canadian goods in 30 days. That includes goods covered under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Free Trade Pact. The U.S. Trade Representative to Canada, Jameson Greer, tells CNBC Washington's responding to what the administration describes as Canada's discriminatory treatment of a number of U.S. industries.
We have a tailored action that covers a subset of Canadian goods. We aren't banning the goods like the Canadians have banned American alcohol. We're not putting a cap on them or limiting them like they've done to cars and dairy. But we have a tariff, which is, again, is a natural consequence of the Canadian retaliation, which has endured for a long time.
The announcement follows President Trump's threat of sanctions against Canada over wildfire smoke that has triggered poor air quality alerts in the United States. However, Trump says the tariffs are not in response to the fires. Trump says he will continue to strike Iran as a conflict that the U.S. and Israel started back in February shows no signs of coming to an end. More from NPR's Deepa Shivaram.
Trump's comments came during a meeting at the White House with the president of Lebanon. He says the U.S. is not leaving Iran.
Honestly, they haven't seen anything yet. We've been nice. We've been nice.
Trump says the U.S. would heavily strike areas in Iran with nuclear material, quote, pretty soon. And he claimed that behind the scenes, Iran is desperate to try and meet with the U.S. to end the war. But Trump says he has, quote, no interest in meeting. He also says even if the U.S. ended operations in Iran today, it would take Iran decades to rebuild. Deepa Shivaram, NPR News, the White House.
The Defense Department is identifying another soldier killed in connection with the war. Sergeant Michael Emmanuel Swinton of Fayetteville, North Carolina, was assigned to the 108th Air Defense Artillery Brigade at Fort Bragg. He was 30 years old. Swinton died during a controlled detonation of an Iranian drone in northern Iraq, July 19th. The Pentagon says in a statement that the incident is under investigation. Arizona is the only state with a primary election today, and the results will help determine control of Congress. From member station KJZZ, Cameron Sanchez has more.
Arizona is a purple state with several competitive races, including the one for the state's first congressional district. The winner there will replace longtime Republican Congressman David Schweikert, who is running for governor. Former NFL kicker and Trump endorsee Jay Feely is the Republican frontrunner. On the Democratic side, candidates Amish Shaw and Marlene Golan-Woods have a shot. All of Arizona's statewide offices are also up for election and are mostly held by incumbent Democrats. Republicans hope to take back the offices of governor, secretary of state, and attorney general this year. For NPR News, I'm Cameron Sanchez in Phoenix.
This is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Shelby Rose. The second named tropical storm of the season has formed south of the Florida Panhandle. Tropical Storm Bertha has sustained winds of 40 miles an hour and is turning westbound for Texas. National Weather Service meteorologist Justin Gonzalez says he expects Bertha to be downgraded before making landfall.
Regardless of the exact state of Bertha, according to the current forecast, we're looking at impacts probably around Friday evening or starting around Friday evening / Friday night.
Bertha is hitting dry air and heavy wind shear that is keeping it from developing. The storm is expected to cross over Louisiana before reaching Texas. Plus, the Houston Police Department has called U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement about people with immigration warrants more than 100 times over the last 3 months, according to new data released by the department. In at least one incident, officers called ICE on someone who asked police for help. News 88.7's Dominic Anthony Walsh reports.
On April 21st, a woman in North Houston called 911 to report a man threatened to kill her. According to an HPD incident report obtained by Houston Public Media, the man was arrested. The woman had a civil immigration warrant. HPD reported her to ICE. The report does not state whether she was detained by immigration agents. City Council member Alejandra Salinas spearheaded a push for more transparency about HPD's cooperation with ICE.
If it is correct that HPD is contacting ICE when individuals are reporting a crime, I think it is a poor use of limited local law enforcement resources.
Out of the more than 100 calls from HPD to ICE over the past 3 months, 19 people were handed over to the agency. I'm Dominic Anthony Walsh, News 88.7.
And Texas Governor Greg Abbott says that our state led the nation in job growth last month, totaling 43,400 non-farm jobs. Over the course of the last year, Texas has gained over 178,000, which outpaces the national job growth rate as a whole. Abbott crediting Texas' business-friendly climate and a state investment in high-demand skills training. I'm Shelby Rose, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Fisher Investments. As a fiduciary, Fisher Investments is obligated to act in their client's interest. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss. This is NPR.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manous.
And good afternoon. Also with me here in the studio in our guest host chair, a regular friend of the show now. Regular part of the show.
Yeah.
Michael Adkison, you know him from all his great reporting on News 88.7, and it's good to have you sit in here.
It's good to be here. I was thinking at the top of the last hour, we talked about how I'm not usually here on Tuesdays. We have Mondays with Mike, and we could do Tuesdays with Mike. It's like a send-up of Tuesdays with Maury. You know, we talk philosophy, and
you're kind of feeling like a little old man.
I am an old man.
For a young guy, you ring
I've got an old soul.
Old soul, that's where I was going. Anything else I would have said would have come out not how I wanted it to. But you know what always comes out good?
What?
When people support the station.
I love it.
I love it. That segue?
That was a great segue.
We are in the Resiliency Fund Drive, and so they ask us to remind you of the importance of you becoming involved in this station on a slightly more active status. A lot of folks just listen and we consider you a passive member, but you can become active by picking up the phone and giving us a call at 888-909-0887 and making a donation of support to the station. Or simply, if you're following us online, listening online, watching us on YouTube, just go over to HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate and make a gift of support to the work that you enjoy, that you listen to, that you want to be part of, and that you want to see continue. All of that comes into play. This is an out-of-time pledge drive. We usually have one in the spring, one in the fall. The reason we're here with you right now is because of the federal funding that was cut, and it's our resiliency fund. You have heard heard the heed. You've heard our word. I don't know. I'm slaughtering that phrase.
That's okay.
But you came to the table with your wallets and your help and your support, but we're a little short of recouping all that we have lost. We've gotten about 88% of the way there. Now we need you to help us get the rest of the way to sustain that funding we lost.
Yeah, we wanted to be able to have 2 years worth of funding. And so, last year, it was just about this time last year that we lost the $2.2 million that
and it's not just 2.2, it's 2.2 annually.
Exactly.
So it was 4.4 million.
Exactly. And that's what we're catching up to is 4.4 million. That's been the end goal for the resiliency fund. And we are pretty close to that 4.4 million. We just need about $500,000 to finish. We are so close to that finish line. And we know that does sound like it's a long way to go, but every single donation that you guys make to Houston Public Media matters. And it has a tangible effect on the programming that we're able to do, like here on Hello Houston. It's so great to be able to have a program where we can connect people directly with the people that we're interviewing, that you guys listening and watching on YouTube have direct access to the interviews. You're kind of part of the family. You're part of the process too. It was great that we had someone from the Houston Humane Society here answering questions about, what can we do? How can we get involved? How can we be a part of the process of maintaining, animal control, pet control, and having fewer strays and street animals in Houston. So it's programs like this that I think are so vital to the community, and they don't happen for free. We need funding to help us be able to do this program and continue to do this program. So go to HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate. If you're watching on YouTube, as Ernie said, it's just another tab. You're right there. You're already online.
Right
you
over. It's easy enough.
Add another tab, and you can go to HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887 to make that donation.
As we talked about, the show is a very interactive show. A lot of news is just passive where you just listen to it. Here, we invite you to be part of the story. We invite you to call in and to share your thoughts. Right now, we're giving a number for donation, which is 888-909-0887. But if you want to join the show and share your opinions and thoughts, you can always call us at 713-440-8870. Should you dial that by mistake and want to make a donation, I'm sure we can guide you to the right phone
We'll
number.
tell you.
We'll help
tell
you there, too. There's a lot more we have on this hour of the show. Last hour was an interesting hour. We were talking about things that happen within our community and how we make our community better. We're going to continue that on. We're going to be talking about human trafficking, and it's a hard topic to bring up. On July 30th, that's going to mark the United Nations World Day Against Trafficking, and so we're going to have a little focus on that. The World Cup just left here. Find out how that impacted that situation. There was a lot of talk of it beforehand. Also about how this situation has changed in an online world and how much more pervasive it has become because of that. Also, we have a really fun guest coming up at the end of the show today, and I cannot wait. Password is back on the air. It's on in prime time, and we've got a guy from Houston who's going to be on tonight's episode of Password.
Yeah, talking about how I have an old soul. I told Ernie before the show, I've never watched Password and I don't know the rules. So Ernie's explaining to me how Password
Can you believe that? This is what I have to sit with today. I can handle it on just Mondays, but on a Tuesday too.
Sorry, I'm a Jeopardy guy. What can I say?
Yeah. But anyway, most of us know what Password is. Sorry, Michael. And we'll give you a lesson in it when he gets here.
Teach me how to play.
All right. All of that being said, it is time to get into the news headlines of the day. Michael, take us away.
State Representative James Talarico, the Democrat from Austin, who is also running for Senate, has pledged to spend $25 million to mobilize black voters on behalf of his campaign for the U.S. Senate this fall. Most polling shows Talarico is in a statistical dead heat against his Republican opponent in the Senate race, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Talarico spoke at a town hall on Sunday here in Houston, where he was joined by black elected officials at the municipal, state, and federal levels. Talarico said the spending pledge, which his campaign asserts is a record for Texas, in terms of trying to mobilize black voters was the start of greater engagement, not the end. Attendees, though, pressed the candidate on issues ranging from the need for greater black staffing in his campaign to a commitment to condemn online bullying by his supporters, aimed at Talarico's former opponent in the Democratic primary, U.S. Representative Jasmine Crockett. What are your thoughts on this move? It's sort of a situation that we've been in before with Democrats in Texas of races that are defined by race, shall we say, elections that are defined by race and what that means for candidates. Give us a call, 713-440-8870. I think that, Ernie, we were talking a little bit about this beforehand. I think for me, one of the things that's really interesting about this and the Talarico campaign and how they have approached race in this race is similar to it's a challenge that I don't think Talarico was expecting, and I think that speaks to the way that Democrats have similarly viewed the Latino vote, which is just, they're one of us, they get it. Mm-hmm. We don't even need to really cater to them and understand them because they're just a part of the base. There's no way Latinos would vote for Trump, so we're not going to focus our efforts on them. And as we saw in the 2024 election, a large number of Latinos went for the Republican Party. So I think that this speaks to a challenge that I don't think Talarico really understood or thought that he was going to face in black voters, because I think there was just a perception that black voters are Democrats and that they're just going to fall in line essentially, and that's proven to be not the case with how this race was handled.
Yes, and I kind of have a slightly different point of view in this, in the fact that if I understand the stories correctly and what has been shared with us by the candidates themselves, when James Talarico was deciding to run for this race, he reached out to Jasmine Crockett and said, he wanted to know if she was planning to run for it, because if she wasn't, he was all in. That's his version of it. I don't know if that's how the conversation exactly went, but he announced, and it wasn't until later that she announced. Now, whether it was driven by the campaigns themselves or if it is just something that came out of the communities that surrounded these candidates or endorsed these candidates, there already was being the focus on a racial divide there and pitting them against each other in that regard. Now, of course, when you're in a primary, you are running against the other candidate in your party, but it tended to fall into racial lines. Now, then there came out the story about some exchange between something Talarico said to an African-American journal or a blogger. The truth behind that, I don't myself know what actually happened there, but that ended up building into that divide. Jasmine Crockett, I think, was kind of smarting after having not won her particular race there. And so her reaction to it probably could have been different in that moment to foster unity between the two. Not saying it's her responsibility to do it, but behavior impacts how people think. And when you have supporters, they are often fervent behind you, especially in primaries. And when their candidate loses, they take it as a loss themselves and see the other as the negative, the villain in the story. Either side does this. And so I think in today's day and age, and if you are a Democratic Party, and I think this has to happen over on the Republican side too. We haven't heard much of it from that side. But right now with this particular one, those candidates have to show a sign of unity. Jasmine Crockett has to come on. She'd said initially she is going to support him, but hasn't shown that full force behind that. My thought on that was we were in the early stages. We were in the summertime months, that her support, if it is coming, will probably come in the fall when needed the most. Mm-hmm. But right now, when you see this concern there that there could be a divide, and if he doesn't have the full support of the full Democratic side, he is not going to win this race. He needs every Democrat plus some Republicans to vote for him. You can say a similar thing on what's going on with Ken Paxton and Cornyn.
Yeah.
Is that Cornyn has not stepped up to say Paxton. But Paxton's got enough things fighting against him right now. We haven't taken a focus on that yet. But I think that's going to come out too. If you don't bring that more centrist base of the Republican Party around Paxton, Paxton doesn't have a chance either. So it's going to be interesting to watch how this all plays out. $25 million to go after any segment of the voting populace. More power to it, because you're trying to get the word out to them, but you've got to be careful of looking at a group of voters like a monolith.
Exactly.
We no longer are, any subgroup. So an interesting way to look at it.
And I think that's what I was, You put into words better than what I was trying to get at.
I put it into a lot of words, so sorry for going off that long.
No, I was trying to get to that idea, and you said it well, which was that we can't look at any group of voters as monolithic, that there's nuance, there's divided opinions, no demographic is singular like that. And it's almost derogatory in a way that we assume that minority voters do have a singular voice. Like, oh, they all think the same thing. Right. We don't have to spend time trying to figure out what they actually believe. No, it is. We wouldn't say the same thing about white voters. We don't talk about white voters, the way that we talk about minority voters. So,
But we do in some way. We do break up white voters too, and college educated and non-college educated. And we tend to think they all vote the same way.
Right.
Or you think of within that, you think of different ways. You think of Southern voters as opposed to Northern voters. You think of urban voters as opposed to, we find lots of ways to divvy this all up. And, I think there is groupthink within subgroups that tend to drive those groups, but it's never 100%. It's never all of them. You think even about, I often think about the gay community, and you think, oh, they're all Democrats, but there's log cabin Republicans. So it isn't in any of these monolith.
Certainly.
We heard from Dark One wrote in and said, are we getting to the point we're saying things that refer to all black voters don't work? They are individuals just like white people, as we were just saying. Stop thinking of them in monolithic groups. My British computer guy says if she's a true Democrat, I assume referring to Jasmine Crockett, she needs to get over the loss and stand behind her party. Now, and that's making the assumption that she is still smarting from that loss. She may not have just made her choice known. In her earlier statement, she did say she congratulated him or whatever the word was.
She's certainly not campaigning with him, though.
Not yet, though.
But to your point, Cornyn is not with Paxton either. And I think, not that we started by talking about Talarico and Crockett, but just to talk about the Republican side of that race, it's not going unnoticed, at least by me, that early on when it was clear that it was going to go towards a runoff, one of the alleged commitments that President Trump had asked for was, whoever I endorse, the other one's got to drop out, and they have to endorse the other candidate. I don't want to fight amongst you two. And I think at that point, the reporting was that Trump was going to endorse Cornyn. That was, I believe, what Politico said. So I think all eyes were on Paxton. Is Paxton going to endorse Cornyn? Is he actually going to do it? And here we are. The reverse is true. Trump endorsed Paxton. And I don't think there's a lot of pressure on Cornyn to endorse Paxton. I think people are noting that there's a divide between them, but I don't think you see people being like, oh, Cornyn hasn't endorsed Paxton the way that Crockett hasn't endorsed Talarico.
Well, and I think because there is a defined leader of this Republican movement right now, and I just saw a poll this morning that said the majority of Republicans still support the president.
Yeah.
And so he is the leader of the party. He is behind the candidate we picked. If Cornyn endorses, great. They don't think it has the same kind of impact, where the Democrats seem to be trying to find their footing. Who is our leader?
Sure.
What is the future of this party? Who is the candidate going to be? I will just say one last thing, and we'll move off of this topic, is the fact that if I were Jasmine Crockett right now, the way I would be looking at this is I want to take my Senate campaign next after Ted Cruz. And I'm going to need the support of the Democratic Party of Texas behind me to do that next move. And that is possible if James Talarico wins this seat. It's saying that there's a shift in power. So support Talarico right now, be on the good side of the party, and then get the party to support you as you make that next go. Because she is a great candidate and a great representative of us. And she really fights, by us, I mean Democrats of Texas. She fights for their party. And she's a good fighter to have. You don't want to lose her voice if that's your party. And so play the game. It's a hard game to play. Anyway, I'm sorry. I went way longer than that. We had some other great stories you may have heard, but I'm not even going to mention them because they're probably going to come up again tomorrow. I am going to mention that HEB, just really quick here, is going to open some new grocery stores. They have a discount line called Jovi's. If you've not been there, Jovi's Smart Shop, and they plan to open two more of those locations in our area in the coming year.
I think that's telling about what people are looking for in their groceries.
Well, it is. You want savings.
Yep,
savings
absolutely.
there. Also, CVS has opened what they call a micro pharmacy, which is to fill the need in pharmacy deserts. They opened one by Hobby Airport. They're just smaller versions of a full pharmacy.
There you go.
They have the pharmacy there. And
everything is miniature. Everything is travel size there. That's what I'm picturing.
Everything is. But you know what isn't? This show. It's supersized for you today, and we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to be talking about a very serious issue. We're going to be talking about human trafficking. So stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
Writer Pico Iyer.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're watching right now. So take the next step and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference. And what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. So join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
One of the deadliest floods in U.S. history tore through the Texas Hill Country. Since then, we've been following up with survivors.
Everything is gone.
And people who lost loved ones.
I find myself just shaking my head saying, I can't believe I find myself here.
You can hear their stories on the podcast After the Flood. From the Texas Newsroom and PBS's Frontline, out now.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Baylor College of Medicine. With over 125 years of innovation behind it, Baylor has driven progress in health and medicine through research, education, and care that push the frontiers of modern science. Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from attorney mediator Ron Bankston, providing in-person, video conference, and hybrid mediation and arbitration services. More information is available at ronbankston.com.
Reliable information should not come with a price tag. That's why Houston Public Media keeps trusted news, emergency updates, and local conversations open to everyone.
But after federal funding was rescinded, sustaining this public service takes more community support.
Your gift to the Resiliency Fund helps replace what was lost and keeps Houston Public Media ready for what comes next.
Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Ernie Manous and guest host Michael Adkison.
July 30th marks the United Nations World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, serving as an important reminder that human trafficking isn't just a global issue, but an issue that affects us right here in Houston. Houston's size, proximity to the Mexico border, access to the Port of Houston, and major highway corridors all contribute to making the region a major hub of trafficking. In January of this year alone, Houston police recovered 86 trafficking victims. Here with us to raise awareness and share strategies for addressing human trafficking in Houston is Eileen Dong, a former UN Global Goals Ambassador and Executive Director of Hope Picks Global, and Houston Councilmember Julian Ramirez. Welcome both to Hello Houston.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
You know, I would like to just start. We just wrapped up the World Cup, and we heard a lot about when the World Cup was coming, what we were going to do to make awareness of this, to combat it, and all. What ended up happening? How did it look from the ground? Did it increase the situation here? Was it a difficult thing? Did we monitor it and handle it correctly? Thoughts on that?
I guess I'll take the
Okay,
mic.
We'll start with you, Annie.
Yes. So as part of a coalition, Hope Picks Global belong to United Against Human Trafficking. So there's a task force that specifically work on the anti-trafficking awareness for FIFA and the World Cup. So we were doing like a midterm and the end of we will be doing an end of the term. As you know, it just has ended. Right. So we will be like filling the gaps, but I don't have the exact numbers I wanted to share. But what I do want to share is while the game ended, the business has been brought here and the trafficking situation will continue. And we will be monitoring that. In the past, what we have seen is that the numbers have gone up. That doesn't mean that the numbers, the cases were not here. It's just more awareness were risen that people are calling in for help, that more cases are being resolved.
Councilmember, when we talk about these issues, for people to understand, why does having a major sporting event, why does having something that brings guests to our city increase human trafficking?
Well, those people who are going to profit or try to profit from illegal activities, will go for the easy marks. And as people travel, they bring along that element and also try to take advantage of those who are traveling.
Mm-hmm. Put in perspective, what is the situation we face in Houston? We often hear that we are one of the centers of human trafficking, if not in the country, but in the world. And why is that, and what are these numbers we're talking about?
Well, I think because Houston is a crossroads, number one, right? We are also a melting pot, and we have people from all over the world here. I also think that perhaps the way we have grown up, so to speak, with the lack of zoning has allowed establishments to proliferate. I mean, we have more massage parlors than we do McDonald's, right? And these are often fronts for human trafficking in our neighborhoods. Just one form of human trafficking. There are a number of forms, but that is one.
That was a powerful way to put it that I'd never thought of it. We have more massage parlors than we do McDonald's.
Yeah, I find that really interesting. As you said that, I was like, oh, the zoning, that is really interesting. That it almost makes it harder to recognize because I live down the block in the same block from a restaurant, or a couple blocks over is an attorney's office that looks just like a house. That it's harder to recognize. There's some stuff that shouldn't be going on there that we can step in and recognize. It's harder to recognize because there isn't zoning.
Right, and they blend into the environment, right? And we sometimes overlook that, but it's real, as Eileen can tell you.
Eileen, as we talk about this, I feel that people are aware of it. We talk on this show, we've talked about it many times, but when it comes into play, people don't recognize it. People don't get involved how they could. Your advice to folks?
I think there are different forms of trafficking. As council member mentioned, there's sex trafficking, labor trafficking. These are the most common. However, there are other forms such as child marriage, surrogacy, and organ trafficking. These are the less common. So let's talk about sex trafficking, for instance. People often see what we see the front door of the massage parlors, but it's not just what we see, all the reflexologies. They are now in residences. There were cases that have been found that there was this neighborhood and where people were having extra traffic and frequent visitors of strangers' cars and things like that. But not only that, I often tell people that before we have to say it's not just happening like what we see in the movie, but in Houston now I'll say it's not just happening in your backyard, it's happening in the bedroom of your kids. They are on social media, and that's why today I want to emphasize on the technology and online. People on social media, Instagram, 2024, there was a case of a girl who was 16 years old that were trafficked because they were lured to commercial sex on Instagram. They are based here in Houston, Texas.
Michael and I were just talking about this before you guys came in, is the fact that how different a world it is now thanks to all of our access to online information and webs and all of that, and that it really makes this problem so much more difficult to combat because it's coming at us from ways we can't see anymore.
That's right. And, often those who are victimized don't have the emotional maturity to deal with it, right? Mm-hmm. And they will prey upon teenagers on the internet. And so that's why it's important for parents to really keep tabs on what their children, especially their teenagers, are doing online. I just saw my wife last night grab my son's phone, and start looking at it. And, that seems like a strong thing to do, but you really do need to keep tabs on what your children are doing.
Eileen, as you mentioned just a moment ago, you think of the massage parlors and you see the front door of the massage parlor. All of this that happens online, you can't see. We don't see it happening until the event has happened. All of the planning, all of the grooming that's going on out there. People get pulled in not realizing they're being pulled into it.
Totally. I think, several of the things I would say, what you asked about what to watch out for. If you see a child that was using the phone, all of a sudden you come by, they try to hide the phone. But there is an app called the calculator. So even if when parents are looking, they'll see, okay, there's a calculator. That's something you need to watch out for your children. That's where they hide those apps. And then something else just very basic and simple is just to show them the love and spend time with them, quality time. It's not say, here's the money, go shopping, and here's the phone and play on the phone, but spend quality time with them. Oftentimes, the traffickers try to lure them through the fake love, the romance, saying that I am your boyfriend because other people think you're ugly, other people don't love you, but I love you. And then slowly they become this so-called boyfriend. That's the Romeo pimp. And then
Yeah, I was going to ask a question for you. I feel like when we talk about human trafficking, it looks the solutions that we hear often, it feels like a needle in a haystack. You're just looking. You're looking for signs. You're looking for that sort of thing. And that's difficult to do. I consider myself an eavesdropper, and even still, I don't know that I'm constantly watching people. What are the solutions that we can do, and how can we help address this? Just me as an individual.
I think, for common Houstonians that are listening, I think it's really important to watch out for the signs. If you see a child, a woman, a girl, and men and boys are also victims, that they have different behavior. They might look like all of a sudden they are wearing like expensive clothes and excess money that they don't used to have, or they seem like very strange in public, that they might have a chaperone that's talking on their behalf. And these are all the signs that you need to watch out for. And they might have their, if they are not local or U.S. citizens, they might have their travel documents seized by the traffickers, and they go to the doctor and they're not allowed to say and have their freedom taken away. These are all the signs, and I urge people to call the National Human Trafficking Hotline, which is 1-888-3737-888, and there are other local numbers that people can call here as well.
I want to remind everyone we're speaking with Eileen Dong, a former UN Global Goals Ambassador and Executive Director of Hope Picks Global, and Houston City Council member Julian Ramirez. If you'd like to join the conversation, give us a call at 713-440-8870. We had a comment that came in that said, "It's beyond me how our government has such surveillance capabilities of citizens and does not fully utilize technology to capture these monsters who perpetrate human trafficking." That takes me a little further out to say we often talk about the immigration problem that we face in this country. How overlapped are these issues?
Well, they're connected. A lot of the, I'll call them trafficking victims here locally, have been brought over to the U.S., with promises of a great paying job, and then they come and they find out it's not what they thought, and they've been essentially forced into slavery, right? To address that concern, we do have law enforcement agencies working on the issue. It's just a difficult problem to solve. Often requires multiple agencies coming together, sharing information and resources. But the folks behind it, at the inception, are often overseas. I do want to give HPD Vice's number to where if residents see something suspicious, they can call ICE, and that is 713-308-8600. Our HPD Vice unit works on these types of crimes as well.
To go back to a question that I often ask in situations like this, and Eileen, I don't know if there's a good answer, but we are on a big planet, and there are lots of different societies and civilizations out there. Who has figured this out? Is there a country we can look to who has got a good handle on this, and what lessons can we learn from them about how they handle these situations?
That's a great question. So the United Nations do have what we call the Global Plan of Action to combat human trafficking, and that is a very good framework which we rely on the 4 Ps: prevention, protection, prosecution, and partnership, which council member mentioned. This is so essential. Data sharing, we talk about the scam centers that are overseas. There are 2 layers of victims. The scam centers enslave those victims with false promises that you're coming here to this country doing these kind of jobs. In reality, they are deprived of food and drinks unless they meet those quotas. How many people do you have to scam? How much dollar amount do you have to scam? And the other layer of victims are here in our communities. And not just children, not just women and boys and girls, elderlies. They're now having robocalls, receiving robocalls saying that so-and-so pretending to be their grandchildren say they're kidnapped and this is the ransom amount.
But to go back to my question, is there a government somewhere that has got a good handle on this that we could learn from?
I think the Nordic model of the Swedish government would be something that I would recommend. However, I think every country need there's the pros and the cons on both. I think the Nordic model really have the equality model that everyone can rely on, and I think that's something that we can borrow. And other countries like the United Kingdom has the border patrol that are trained and have the authority to catch the traffickers. They have the authorities. If they detect certain red flags, they can catch them.
Yeah, and to that point, I think something that was really notable to me, we did a lot of covering, I was our World Cup reporter, and we did a lot of reporting about trafficking surrounding the World Cup. And, the host committee had to come up with their own human rights action plan. And I think they modeled it after the United Nations one that you were referring to. But I remember asking, are there specific matches that they were looking for of a potential rise in trafficking of people coming from this country? And the one that was mentioned was the Netherlands match, because sex work is legal in the Netherlands. And so it just made me realize that there's no specific type of victim or trafficker, but two, that even as we look internationally, every country is different and what's legal there is different. And obviously here in the United States, soliciting sex work is a felony, that a first-time felony, I believe, that would not be the case for the Netherlands coming here. So even just looking internationally, there's so many nuances of how you approach human trafficking, and there's no one particular type of victim, kind of is what it sounds like we were talking about.
So well said. That's exactly what I was referring to, in certain areas and regions, sex trafficking, in this case, they consider that the victims choose by their own will to perform those commercial sexes, and that's where the lines crosses. And there are movements that are supporting this. How can we restore the hope and the dignity and the freedom of those victims?
Yeah.
Councilmember, I'm curious, your advice to folks listening right now, how they can get involved in this, what they should be watching for, what we should be aware of in our own communities.
Well, the whole reason we wanted to appear is to raise awareness in connection with the July 30th United Nations Day Against Trafficking of Persons. And as Eileen mentioned, and she's got a great website, Hope Picks Global, where she's got some resources they can access. But if you see something, as we like to say something. You can call HPD Vice if you see something out of the ordinary. There's a national hotline that she mentioned earlier. And so, don't hold on to that information, but share it with authorities who are working on this problem to see if we can combat it that way.
I think the problem with tip lines, too, for people is you don't want to make a wrong assumption. You don't want to, so what exactly should you be looking for? When is it the right time to call one of these numbers? And let me quickly give you the numbers. The national hotline is 888-3737-888. And the Houston police number we were just talking about, 713-308-8600. But to my question, what are we looking for, and when is the right time to call one of these numbers?
At Hope Picks Global, our slogan is educate, empower, and equip. I think it's so important to educate ourselves as well. What is human trafficking? There are a lot of great nonprofit organizations like us. Go volunteer with them, and they might be classes and some of the volunteer programs at hopepicksglobal.org. There are information on that. On my Eileen Dong official Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, there are information that I constantly go to the UN and other countries to learn from. But I think it's so important for you to, whether you look out for the signs that I mentioned earlier or call these lines and learn, but also very importantly, technology is now, it's a double-edged weapon. It can be used for good and for bad. So the United Nations were doing the AI for good. And I urge citizens that are, you have the skills and the tools to help us and volunteer, and how can we, assist the technology with the law enforcement.
And just remember, it's not on you. If you make a mistake and call these numbers, they know how to suss it out. If you feel uncomfortable or think something needs to be called in, do that. Don't worry. They'll know if it's valid or not, and they'll be able to help you through it. Thank you both very much for coming in on
Absolutely.
this.
Thank you all for raising awareness to this. It really helps.
Very insightful campaign, so thank y'all both. Eileen Dong is a former UN Global Goals ambassador and executive director of Hope Picks Global. And I will mention, because I think someone said look up Hope Picks Global. Picks is PYX, Hope PYX Global. And Julian Ramirez is a City of Houston council member. Thank you both for being here today.
You bet. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Coming up, a Houston native tests his wits on password. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
We are in our on-air resiliency fund campaign, and the reason we're coming to you is very simple.
You've probably heard Houston Public Media lost $2.2 million annually in federal support, and we need to make up for that.
And that's what this campaign does. It helps cover 2 years of that lost support, totaling $4.4 million. That's the goal.
We still need a few $100,000 to get there. I hope.
Do you ever think you'd say that
I hope
sentence?
people have been making donations as we call. We haven't gotten an updated number, but I know we still need more funding. So please consider making a donation today.
Well, they have been, and we appreciate it. I want to take a moment and thank everyone who has already given during this drive or who gave in our last resiliency drive and who gives regularly to the station. We appreciate all your help and support. If you haven't given yet, if you give monthly and you want to increase that gift, you can do that now very easily on our website, houstonpublicmedia.org/donate. You can also make a fresh gift. You can make a gift in someone else's name. There's lots of ways to give. The important thing is that we hear from you at whatever amount. If you want this service here when you need weather, news, local stories, or just a little bit of clarity in your day, give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887. It's easy to do. Do it now.
It's not just your car. It's the one that brought your kids home from school, took you cross-country, held memories, laughter, even a few breakdowns. When it's time to let go, give your car a new purpose. Donate it and turn memories into meaningful support for this station. Plus, you'll enjoy free and easy pickup, potential tax benefits, and a simple donation process. Your gift supports the programs you and your family love. Donate today and help keep public media strong. Call or donate online.
The flood from the Texas Newsroom and PBS's Frontline, we meet people who survived last year's floods in the Hill Country and those who lost loved ones, and we try to answer the questions they still have. After the Flood, out now.
Support comes from the Houston Museum of Natural Science in Herman Park, featuring exhibits on dinosaurs, butterflies, stars, and ancient cultures, along with the Burke Baker Planetarium and Cockrell Butterfly Center. More at hmns.org.
Houston Public Media is licensed to the University of Houston System, governed by the UH Board of Regents. Information about open meetings, dates, times, and locations is online at uhsystem.edu.
Support comes from Blue Cross Blue Shield Global Solutions, providing international health insurance for people traveling, living, or working abroad. Learn more at bcbsglobalsolutions.com. Blue Cross Blue Shield Global Solutions. Blue means go. Support for Houston Public Media comes from Theater Under the Stars, with a 2026-27 season of Broadway musicals at the Hobby Center. Subscription packages for 3 or more shows are available. Information at tuts.org.
Houston's next big story won't wait. Your gift to Houston Public Media's Resiliency Fund helps replace rescinded federal funding and keeps us ready. Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Ernie Manous and guest host Michael Adkison.
Password is an iconic American game show in which two teams consisting of a celebrity and a contestant try to guess mystery words through single-word clues to win a cash prize. And there have been different versions of the show over the years. It's currently being hosted by Emmy winner Keke Palmer, the iconic Keke Palmer, and it's about to feature someone from our neck of the woods as a contestant. Corey Ross is a Houston native who will be appearing in tonight's episode of NBC's Password, while he will be joined by resident celebrity player Jimmy Fallon. And Corey's here to talk to us about his Password experience. Corey, welcome to Hello Houston.
How's it going?
Corey,
Thanks
I
for
cannot
having me.
tell you how excited I was to hear you were going to be on our show. I just think this is a great story, and I love that you are one of ours. Even though you may not live here right now, you will always be a Houstonian. I know we cannot ask you how things turned out because I believe this has been pre-recorded. You already know the outcome.
Yes.
We don't. But how long have you been a Password fan?
You know, I grew up with my grandparents, and I feel like when you grow up or you spend a lot of time with your grandparents, you're either watching stories or you're watching game shows. So I've seen a few of the different iterations of the show. So it was really cool to be a participant on the same show that, you know, you've seen clips of like Betty White and then obviously the great celebrities that they have now. So it was a lot of fun, but it seems like something I've been watching forever.
Okay, we're playing Password now. You ready?
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, I'm going to give clues. You're going to give answers. Here we go. First clue.
Okay.
Cowboy.
Dallas.
Boots.
Rodeo.
Bing, 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 bing. You got it. Two clues. I was thinking to myself, these are really simple. I thought, oh my God, what if he doesn't get it here with us on these silly little ones? Thank you for playing along.
I love it.
Maybe that would be an indication of my performance tonight.
Oh no, I doubt it. I doubt that. Okay, you're playing with. Do you play with Jimmy Fallon? Can you tell us that much?
So I do. So I play with Tiffany Haddish the first round and Jimmy Fallon the second round.
Wow.
And it's so incredible because immediately you get on set, the producers are like, hey, have fun, smile, have a good time. And then Tiffany walks out and she has all this energy. And before she walks out, you know, Jimmy shakes her hand, Keke does, they're all saying hello. And she walks out and it's like it's go time. It's go time. So it's literally fun the moment that we set foot on the stage. And when we come on the stage, right, we actually don't see it until maybe 15 minutes before our episode. So you kind of take it all in and it's like, boom, let's go.
Yeah, I want to remind everyone we are talking with Houston native Corey Ross, who is appearing on tonight's episode of Password over on NBC. If you'd like to talk to him about this experience, give us a call, 713-440-8870. You talk about actually being there and playing the game, but take me back a little bit. We've seen this portrayed in lots of TV shows and stuff. What is the process like to get chosen to be a contestant?
Good question. So originally, my friend Colin Carter actually was recruited off TikTok, right? So casting reached out to him. He gave my name. And once you have like a screening on the phone, and then there are a few Zooms where they have you play the game. You play it with other contestants. They do some fun things, like they have some producers on the call and you're playing along, you're playing the game. You're like, wow, this person is really good at the game. You're like, they're almost too good. And then you find out they're a producer. Then it's so funny. And then afterwards, you are invited to, there was a studio out in Jersey. We came the first time. We met some of the contestants. It was kind of like a boot camp where, hey, you kind of tell your personal story, you play the game, and then they invite you another time and you kind of do a mini boot camp a little bit, you play the game, and then it's go time.
Wow.
So that was kind of the complete process. I would say for me, casting took about 2 weeks.
So do they say to you before you go on, bring all your energy, be excited out there, show them you know how to, what's the pep talk they give you?
Absolutely. So every round, it's you kind of create this very personal relationship with your producer. So your producer kind of guides you along the way. So you're having these like really human conversations with them. They're asking you about, their life, your life. They're talking about theirs. And so they're like, they understand that the energy that you can bring. So they do remind you, like, hey, like, remember this, the energy when you talk about this, let's bring that out on camera. So yeah, they're definitely always talking about bring the best energy. I think it's a great reminder that, a lot of America is going to be seeing this. So they kind of give you that nudge that, hey, make sure you bring a lot of really great energy, because I also think that everyone kind of feeds off that, right? Tiffany fed off, I think my energy, I fed off her, same with Jimmy. And then Keke is just the utmost professional that you would imagine that she would be. It's just incredible to see her just work.
Yeah. Was there a moment, Corey, when you talked about like, it's go time, like I'm excited, let's do this. Were you like, Tiffany, like, nice to meet you? Or were you like, oh my God, that's Tiffany Haddish? Like, what was it like when you saw her walk out? Were you like, we are focused, we are set? Or did you kind of like lose your cool and you're like, oh my God, I'm here, I can't believe this?
I did lose my cool, I think, inside. I try to think that I remain composed, but I think it clicks for me the second round. I think like it's like a light bulb went off.
Yeah.
That it's like, oh, it's really go time. The first round was a lot of fun. The second round was a lot of fun. I think the clue for the second round was made for me.
Nice.
Right?
Oh,
so
okay. All right.
I think there's actually a promo that's out from the second round, and I think it just, you see the light bulb goes off in my head. You can see it in my eyes. So I feel like that's when it was go time. The first round, you play backstage beforehand. You play with your opponent, and you kind of get a feel. Let me tell you, the person I'm playing against is incredible. It's like I'm playing the practice round, and I'm like, where did they find this lady? Like she must do this just for fun, right? So, but yeah, I think the second round is when it's like, okay, it's really go time for me.
For many years, I hosted the PBS Spelling Bee, and what we always used to talk to the spellers about was the word they went out on. They all remember it, no matter how old they are, families there, they all remember. I'm not going to ask you about a word you went out on or a word you won with, but at the end of this experience, is there a word that will stay with you always for good or for bad? You don't have to say what it is. I'm just curious.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I don't know how it's going to be edited, but I think when you see it, you'll be like, that's the word.
You said there's a promo out already with you on it. Are people recognizing you? Maybe not exactly knowing why they know you, but a lot more people kind of giving you that little side eye, like, you look familiar.
I'm a Houston native, but I live in New York, and in New York City, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's a regular day in the neighborhood.
Oh, get back to us tomorrow. Let's see how that changes.
But I will say, someone called my grandparents, and they're like, I think I just saw Corey on television. Right? So yeah, it's that was like a little fun call to kind of get. But let's see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, Corey, we're all going to be watching tonight. Good luck. We wish you the best. You already know the outcome, but we'll find out tonight.
So awesome.
Corey, thank you
so
very
much for the opportunity.
Houston native Corey Ross is going to be on NBC's Password tonight at 9 p.m. our time. So give it a look, even though it's another station. We're okay with
That's
it.
okay.
Because Corey's cool. That brings us to the end of the show. We want to thank you for watching and listening to Hello Houston. We'll be back tomorrow with more conversation. And don't forget that we're always here for you at Houston Public Media News 88.7. Have a good day. We are with you right now for something very important. We're in our on-air resiliency fund campaign. And this is about something that you tune into every day.
Yeah, we hope if you're listening right now in your car, in your kitchen, at your desk, or when something big is happening, you got us on. We're right here with you on Hello Houston and News 88.7.
Yeah, we're coming to you today because Houston Public Media, sad part, lost $2.2 million annually in federal support, and we can't make that up or move on without supporters like you.
All right, we are 86% of the way to our end goal, and your gift, if you make one today, is going to help us get there for getting your routine, your questions, and your community, supporting them with your donation.
So do us a favor right now. Give at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or give us a call, 888-909-0887.
And not that you need a reminder, but just as a reminder, Houston Public Media is here for everyone. That's the whole point. We're here for you, for your neighbor, and it's here for someone who can't make their gift today. We are free. We don't have a paywall on our website. We are free on the radio. You can always listen to us. We are 100% community funded, and that means that every single gift that we receive relies on you, and it goes right into your community to help support this essential service that you rely on. So help keep this service available for everyone. Give right now, houstonpublicmedia.org/donate, or that phone number is 888-909-0887.
Storms, elections, the World Cup. This year threw a lot at Houston, and we were able to help you make sense of it all. You tune in and you get this information and news for free. But this work isn't free for our station. We operate on a tight budget, but there are costs tied to everything we do. That's why we're coming to you today, and we're asking you for your support.
A soundbite is not enough. Lois, for example, a Houston Public Media listener, turns to us for clear, informed news, and she always wants to help us out. So please be like Lois, give a donation. That phone number, again, is 888-909-0887 or houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altai, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media.
Is your car or truck just sitting in the garage gathering dust? It's time to kick that ride to the curb. When you donate any vehicle to Houston Public Media, you aren't just clearing out the clutter, you're fueling the local programs you rely on. Learn more at houstonpublicmedia.org/.